speed. The fight. You're on your own. Not anymore with Innit Esports.
Hello and welcome everybody back once again to another Screen to Speed race here at Innit Esports. Today we are back in the MX-5s as we get to head over to the Snetterton circuit over in the UK. This is going to be an exciting one. It's a tight, twisty, windy, short circuit with a lot of action ahead of us. Now, before we get into tonight, why don't we take a look back a little bit here and introduce my co-partner as well, Mr. Sagar Bakshi, as we're going to discuss a little bit about the previous race that we managed to have here. Not at this circuit though, Sagar, at a little bit different British track.
It was a lot different at VIR the last time we were out. At 2.25 miles, the North Course provided us with a ton of excitement, with drivers battling for the lead of the race and having a little pirouette, simultaneously going side by side, almost losing the lead of the race themselves to Krasnowska, who came home in third place. It was a great time had by the ladies.
Absolutely. We have some returning drivers and some maybe newer drivers as well to the grid here tonight. Some names that we know very well. Jess Visser, excuse me, as well as Katharina Geisler joining us. And on top of that, as you mentioned, Olivia Krasnowska, real-life racing driver as well, joining the grid tonight. And we'll see if she's going to be able to live up to the prospects that she's had. Now, let's talk a little bit about, again, the format that we have on offer here tonight, Sagar. The track, Snetterton 200 layout, tighter, twistier, windier than normal, but it's in the MX-5, a car that everybody knows very, very well. And on top of that, it's two 15-minute races, so double the chance of success.
It's really a circuit that asks drivers to do a little bit of everything. Gives you the heavy braking hairpin feel of like Montreal at the end of one lap, long acceleration zones down the Bentley and Senna straight, and it's just a good flowing iconic track, and the 200 layout provides us with even more entertainment in these Mazda MX-5 Cup cars.
Now, overtaking may be a luxury, but we're going to have to find that out a little later. Let's take a moment here to talk about who makes these events possible, and that, of course, being our title sponsor here tonight, Regadget. You can take a look on your screen, scan that QR code, or head on over to shop.regadget.com and use code INNIT for a discount on what is already a heavily discounted PC. Typical budget range starting at about $1,500 USD. You can find yourself getting a 3060 with an Intel i7, 1 terabyte of storage, Windows 11, and an RGB lit Phoenix computer. It's a beast. And on top of that, of course, with Regadget, amazing customer support. On top of, if you have a PC laying around and don't know what to do with it, well, guess what? Regadget, they refurbish computers, get them back out to places that are in need. For example, libraries, schools, or businesses in need of that as well. So if you do have a PC laying around, it's a hunk of junk, they will pay for the shipping. You can send it out to them, and then it will get built into something better. And again, if you want to pick up yourself a PC over there, they have multiple budget ranges as well with a lot of different options. Head on over at shop.regadget.com. Now, also to mention a couple other sponsors that do make these events possible for tonight. First off, hello, we're live, yes indeed, on not just YouTube and Twitch, but also over on eClutch in the MENA region and Esports Edge as well on Roku. So a massive shout out to those crews that are behind the scenes making all this possible, as well as AK Esports UK for putting on all of these lovely, lovely pictures that you see. And of course, again, Innit Esports being the platform that we're racing on here in terms of our championship. And again, iRacing, the game of choice. Now, Sauger, let's get down to the results shortly, as of course we have the drivers out on circuit currently taking part in a qualifying session. It's a shorter 10-minute quali leading us up to those 2 15-minute races that we're going to be having.
Yes, it is. With 8 corners, 3 to the left and 5 to the right, this ex-airfield circuit, known for its fast straights and heavy braking zones, has challenged drivers. But with that being said, the qualifying results are just about in at this point in time. We'll have to take a look at the results and see who came out on top, Mike.
And also, I love that you mentioned the fact that this circuit is absolutely rife with history. RAF beginnings, as it started as a bomber base back in World War II, 1943, all the way until the 50s, where then it was converted into a circuit by the Aston Martin Owners Club. And then, of course, now being turned into what is one of the best overtaking tracks there is in the UK, the Snetterton 300 layout, with down, of course, turn 2 being a good opportunity, turn 4 being a great opportunity as well. But just all in all, one of the best British tracks, and there you can see the lovely Union Jack being represented as well on the screen. So seeing these drivers out there, Sauger, is going to be very exciting. We have a big diversity of different nations taking part, as well as, of course, we run the Team America Championship over here at Innit Esports, which is going to be coming up next month. Do check that out if you're interested. That is an All-American Championship. This one, though, Sauger, we have all of the different nations being represented right now. We have Germany, Scotland, and various other parts of the world as well.
And it's great to see an American on the grid as well. A little bit of fan favoritism there for Christina Ryan representing the United States. It's great to see the diversity of drivers that take to these grids here at Innit Esports. We race every single weekend, whether it's NASCAR, Screen to Speed, Team America. There's always something to be had, and on the horizon as well, some more stuff coming up with iRacing Arcade, as that was a ton of fun last weekend. We had a few drivers show up and show out to a great time.
Yeah, absolutely. And here we go. By the way, folks, we are out on the track now. So qualifying done and dusted. We're actually out racing, and currently Sophie Hoeflar up at the top. Sarah Dove uncharacteristically 6/10 behind at the start, but that's going to change immediately, as with cold brakes and cold tires, Sophie Hoeflar, one of the anchors of the Screen to Speed Championship, has made a mistake early. Sarah Dove takes the lead. Jess Visser behind, taking second. Katharina Geisler, a free position for her as well. The day just got a little bit harder if your name is Sophie Hoeflar.
Absolutely, as that's going to be 6 positions lost on the good, but there's still another race to represent your best possible run here at Snetterton as the drivers bang their way over the sausage curbs. It's a good run for Christina Ryan as she gains 1 and chases down Geisler up ahead. She's only 9/10 back right now, so she is in that slipstream, but not really close enough for it to benefit her a lot. And you're going to say, Sauger, what can the slipstream really do in these Mazda MX-5 cars? Well, at Daytona, for example, the drivers can go up to 15 miles per hour faster during the banking. Now, we don't have any high banking here, but we do have long straightaways for the drivers to abuse. So expect to see that draft play a lot of pull for the drivers.
Especially in these little MX-5 cars, they don't have much horsepower. Their acceleration is about 0 to 60 in 3 to 5 business days. And when you take away a little bit of that air on the front hood, that's going to allow those cars to go just that much faster. And already we can start to see that slipstream train, that we're going to call it, developing early on. And Katharina Geisler, along with their counterpart Jess Visser, of course, the dynamic German duo out on track. Sarah Dove is going to be the one that's sweating, because I would imagine that these two are going to be working together to try to best her. We're going to take a look back at that replay, by the way, earlier on. This is what caused Sophie the strife early on, and really, unfortunately for her, no fault of anybody but herself on that one. And I know, Sauger, we've had a couple practice races on this track in the past. I have made that mistake a whole handful of times.
Yeah, myself as well. A little bit of a close call on the rejoin there, but no harm, no foul. getting the car spun around and pointed in the right direction. You're absolutely right. We've run a couple laps here at Snetterton, and we have had a great time for sure, especially driving these Mazda MX-5 Cup cars. They just produce great racing overall because they're equally matched machines. And here comes Christina Ryan, not equally matched anymore, with Katharina Geisler up the road by only 0.2 of a second, and she pulls out the fastest lap of the race, a 1:22.6 this time by.
And never shake a stick at Christina Ryan. She is, of course, a previous podium finisher in screen to speed over at Tsukuba in the GR86. So this car, maybe not quite exactly the same as the GR86. A lot of comparisons, though, they can be made. It's a slower car with lower horsepower, and it's a road car. At the end of the day, it's really not much difference. The only difference is in that suspension geometry. These MX-5s, they're a little bit stiffer. The GR86s roll a little more in the corner. So really, it's going to be just trying to carry that momentum, and Christina Ryan having to almost force this car to comply, as it seems. But right now, Katharina Geisler is going to be sweating like a cow in a burger joint because Christina is all over her.
One of the characteristics I will say is similar between these two vehicles, though, the GR86 and the Mazda MX-5, is going to be that they're momentum-based vehicles because of the low horsepower, because they significantly have more weight than some of their counterparts. They are going to be momentum-driven cars where you have to carry that minimum speed through the corner, really push it as far as you can and not lose that top speed that you're carrying as much as possible. That'll lead to overtakes going into the next zone as we see drivers continue to snatch away fast laps. Katharina Geisler, last lap, fast lap 1:22.2 last time by.
Very few mistakes being made so far from our top three, and make it their top four. Christina Ryan still on the back right now of Katharina Geisler, and I think it's just kind of that feeling out phase right now of where am I stronger, where am I weaker. At the end of the day, this track is tough to overtake. It's a shorter layout than the traditional Snetterton circuit, and that cuts off a few key overtaking opportunities, but turn two still being one of the best opportunities into that willow hairpin. It will be a great long braking zone, and I suspect that Christina Ryan is going to want to make something happen there. But right now, this is the Sarah Dove show, which, to be fair, Sagar, is nothing new when it comes to the Screen to Speed Championship.
No, Sarah Dove is not a stranger at all to leading packs, to being in the lead and trying to control the field. It's going to be really good for her to get this experience as well, to be pressured from behind, to be able to get that pressure building up lap after lap, and then that confidence starts to drive you forward. It does help just being in a controlled environment like this Screen to Speed crew, and really being able to learn out and suss out where are you stronger, where are you slower, what driver has what type of characteristics, and then go for moves strategically rather than open lobby shenanigans, as we see a little bit of shenanigans now from Geisler and Ryan further back. It's going to be side by side coming through the chicane, but no longer, as Ryan gets the move done and dusted in front of Geisler.
A mistake from Katharina, and immediately Christina has her eyes on the prize. She almost went for a 2-for-1 onto the German duo. Jess Visser had to close that inside gap off and not allow her the daylight. Let's take a look at that once more. That was a brilliant setup here, as we're going to be seeing her just on the back burner, not making any sort of moves right now. Comes to the apex, and all of a sudden you see that little inside curb unsettles Christina, sends her out wide, or Katharina, excuse me, allowing Christina on through. And that was the opportunity. Jess maybe having to look at her rearview mirror for a second, but no harm, no foul. A great move from Christina Ryan, who is now up in a second.
Another great move from Christina Ryan. We saw her closing down the gap in that replay on Geisler, but now Jess Wesser falls down into fourth place. Let's get a replay of what happened here.
We're heading into the first corner uncharacteristically. This looks like maybe a similar mistake than what we saw to Sophie, and oh my goodness, it's maybe a little bit more so. It looks like forgetting which braking board you're going to be using. Jess Visser with an extremely uncharacteristic mistake. Rejoins side by side with her German counterpart and has to go off the track once more. I'm honestly surprised she didn't lose more time in that endeavor.
That's actually a very good point that she didn't lose a significant more amount of time. That was a very dangerous excursion off on the racetrack. But because this is a Royal Air Force, former Royal Air Force base, we have a lot of, well, runoff area on these runways. This is a airfield, as you can imagine. So the massive amounts of land that is flat here is expansive. Imagine Silverstone, just a little condensed.
That's a crazy comparison, Soccer. I'll just call it as it is.
What?
It's like Silverstone with grass. Why don't we put it that way? Last time I checked, there isn't much grass in the infield at Silverstone. But no, you're absolutely right. This is, I would say, much more difficult, in fact, than Silverstone, because it is so punishing due to the runoff and the fact that you can't really make a mistake. You have traditional corners like Maggots and Beckett's. Not sure who that was in the background there, but you do have some traditional corners like Maggots and Beckett's, for example, but if you go a little deep in Maggots and Beckett's, well, you get to keep that momentum. Here, you don't. You might spin out. You have to rejoin in a very safe manner. And so far, we've seen a very good job of that. I do want to take a touch back here just on some of the drivers in the further back of the field. Sophie Hoefler, for example, not really having the pace that I would have expected her to have, despite the fact that she had that spin early. I also think that's just due to the consistency of those up front. Annalise Riot as well, always consistent in the 7th position right now, but still no mistakes to be found from her, which is absolutely brilliant. She's managed to just pluck away some positions over time, just due to the fact that she's so utterly consistent out on the circuit.
The consistency is going to be key to winning a race like this with drivers that have been practicing over and over again, that know what's at stake here, the representation that they could potentially have for ladies in esports. It is a big weight to carry on their shoulders, but the ladies here are definitely looking forward to the opportunity. Ryan, Geisler, and Dove, the 1-2-3 punch combo right now as Geisler continues to snatch away fast lap after fast lap, a 122.188 last time by in her chase back to get up to P2 with Christina Ryan right in front. And Sarah Dove almost pulling away from the duo behind.
And this really is the shoe kind of being put on the other foot right now for Christina Ryan, as she was putting the pressure on to Katharina Geisler the entirety until she made that overtake. But then when she got by, well, there wasn't much daylight to be found. Katharina immediately putting the pressure right back on. And I think it's just a matter of time before we see Christina either crack or prosper here. As you mentioned, yeah, Sarah Dove, 0.6 into the lead. So you really can't afford, if you're Katharina, to start going for moves. Geisler and Ryan almost have to maybe not work together, but at the very least not work against each other if they want to best Sarah.
But the gap opens up between Ryan and Geisler. It was sitting at around a second. It seemingly comes back down to just under a second. As we get into the braking zone here, the drivers clatter over the sausage curbs and abuse them as much as they can as they try to carry their momentum out of the final corner and down the long front straightaway. It will be Christina Ryan not gaining a significant amount of time on Sarah Dove as she does continue to put in personal best laps.
Now, I want to take a little moment here to talk about these cars for the for some of these people at home, especially those watching on Esports Edge and on eClutch over on Roku as well. If you guys are maybe curious in terms of what these drivers are experiencing, it's a very difficult balance. It looks so simple in practice, but in actuality, you can see when you smash into those curbs immediately, these cars, they go from violent understeer to crippling oversteer in an instance. And what exactly does that mean? Well, the car, you start to turn it in, it doesn't really turn. It likes to go in a straight line. Now you start to turn that wheel too much, or you unsettle it, you hit a curb in some way, you'll be spinning around quicker than a quick thing in Quicksville, and it happens very fast. And it's one of those mistakes that I think every single one of these MX-5 drivers has made at some point in time, especially on this circuit, into that chicane.
Absolutely. And there are real life drivers with accolades such as winning at COTA, winning at Daytona, such as Jeremy Fletcher, Parker DeLong, and Tyler Gonzalez, and some lady drivers as well, such as Ellie Gossett, who have won races in their Mazda MX-5 here, or the Wheelin' Mazda MX-5 Championship, as I should properly name it. But the ladies here are equally in the same machinery as some of these champion contenders. This is the entry-level gateway to motorsport. This is what your parents warned you about when you were kids, folks. Don't touch a Mazda MX-5. It'll lead to sports cars down the road. And boy, oh boy, does it ever. Jeremy Fletcher drives Mazda MX-5s and GR86s in real life and is on his way to looking forward to driving sports cars, GT3s and GT4s, not too far into the future. And the gentleman, well, he's only 14 years old.
And on top of that, let's talk about some of the women as well that have made success out of this series. For example, women like Nina Hahn, not participating in, but in the Toyota team now and taking part in their P1 and P3 at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. So many opportunities and doors to be opened up from this. And again, Olivia Krasnowska, a real-life driver, the youngest woman with a 2.0 hot rod podium, and also the 2025 Most Improved Driver Award in the 2.0 hot rods as well. She's a young driver with a lot of prospects to come. And as you can see in the sim racing world here tonight, she's maybe not having the most success, but that's not to take anything away from the results that she's had. Of course, being a previous Screen to Speed podium finisher and a driver of the day winner as well in the previous Screen to Speed race. So seeing her out on track, always a great sign, whether it's in the real world, whether it's in the virtual. And Katharina Geisler, a very uncharacteristic mistake on the last lap here. Sarah Dove gonna maybe be getting a little bit of wind pushed back in her sails now, as she still has that 8/10 gap over Christina Ryansager. This is gonna be a tough one to come down, but let's take a look at this replay.
Little mistake turns into a big one, and the flick of the wrist right turns into a big flick left as the overcorrection needed to take place to point that Mazda Cup car back in the right direction.
And this being the final lap as well, Sarah Dove leading nearly every single lap. Did not lead from the start, but thankfully for her, Sophie Hoeflaar decided to have a little spin in the first corner. Now it's been a cruise to the line for the Scottish driver, as she is going to be coming through the final sector now and on to the start-finish straight for what is going to be awaiting her, the checkered flag for race 1. Don't go anywhere, folks. Race 2 still on the horizon, but Sarah Dove is your race 1 winner for Screen to Speed here at Snetterton. Behind her, Christina Ryan comes home in second with a brilliant position gain as well of, I think, 3 positions total throughout the night. Katharina Geisler finishing in third despite the mistakes that she had, and Jess Visser, an uncharacteristic 4th for somebody who has won so many Screen to Speed races in the past.
Annalise Ryan in 7th, but Krasnowska crosses the line in 5th, and Sophie Hoeflaar down in 6th position. But a great showing from all of the women drivers here for Screen to Speed. Race number 1 is already concluded, and now we take a short break before we get to race number 2, Mike. But the battle at the front, the battle in the middle, the battle at the rear, it all happened, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, for those watching on the Esports Edge side of things, we are going to be taking a quick little break. But for everybody else watching on all the other platforms, we will still be here live and ready, so don't go anywhere, folks. If you are watching on the Esports Edge, we thank you tremendously. But yes, let's talk about that race a little bit here. And also, let's talk about the prospects of the next race, because as we've seen from the start, mistakes. This is a very tricky circuit, and we've seen that overtaking is maybe not the easiest, but it is certainly possible. It's down to whether or not the drivers can really keep all 4 tires on the circuit, Sagar, and it seems like that's easier said than done.
Absolutely. Snetterton has a lot of runoff, but it's also very demanding of a racetrack as well. We've seen drivers make critical mistakes going into the braking zones of turn 1, and of course the last corner claiming its lives as well. It's a very tricky track that demands a lot of patience, but also demands drivers to push themselves a little bit harder than they would normally.
And that right there, Sagar, you actually kind of hit a nail on the head that I was wanting to touch on. The fact that, for example, like a driver like Olivia Krasnowska, finishing in 5th position like that, I'm just going to be honest, and I don't mean to be rude, but her lap times just weren't there. Same with Sophie Huflar. You know, she qualified in 1st position. I don't know if it was a knock to her confidence in that spin in the 1st corner or if it just did her tires in. But regardless, 2 drivers that you expect to be up there in terms of pace, but just couldn't quite make it happen in race 1. And so as we get ready to head into race 2, those are 2 drivers that I very much have my eye on, as the results are going to be the starting results are going to be the finishing order of the previous race. So for example, Sarah Dove finishing in 1st, she's going to start in 1st. Annalise finishing in 7th, she's going to start in 7th, so on and so forth. Sophie, a lot of question marks for her in this first race. Is again, that's a driver that, well, we can take a little segue here to talk about. Of course, we have our Init team. She's somebody who is a strong representative in that, putting in massive lap times, and on top of that, participating in the Watkins Glen 6-hour yesterday, along with 2 other teams that we have for Init Esports. If you're interested in joining the Init team, by the way, scan that QR code, head on over to our website for some more information. But we've had a lot of drivers showing a lot of really good pace out in the Watkins Glen 6-hour yesterday. Unfortunately, the results didn't quite come with a little bit of bad luck, but cannot wait for the next. And if you're interested, get involved here at Init Esports, scan that QR code and head on over to the website. We also have coming up some truck races as well. Sagar, I know you're going to be quite excited for that one. Why don't you talk a little bit about that? June 27th, the trucks head to Miami, and if we get 10 drivers total, we're going to turn it into a championship.
Absolutely. I am so excited for Homestead Miami. The Speedway is going to be the true test of participation here at Init. We get those drivers, we get a league. They're going to be broadcasted, of course, as regular parts of Init Esports. I am just so giddy about another exciting event with Init Esports. I love to be a part of the community that we're building, and the drivers that show up and show out are really fighting hard. The last time we were racing, the gap at the front when they crossed the line, Mike, under a 1/10 of a second between the top 3 drivers.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. I cannot wait. Now, let's take a moment here to talk, though, about the results that we had from the previous session here, as the results are official, and they're officially, unofficially in, as of course the stewarding still needs to happen. But I think race 1 was clean enough that we can chalk it up to the official results here of Sarah Dove taking the victory, with Christina Ryan behind in 2nd. 3 positions gained total for her. Katharina Geisler down in 3rd for the number 32 German driver, and the German duo finishing hand in hand with Jess Visser behind in 4th. Olivia Krasnowska coming home in 5th position, with Sophie Huflar an uncharacteristic 6th, and Annalise Riot finishing last, but certainly not least.
Great round from the drivers and a good showing of what can actually happen for heat number 2 coming up in just a few moments time as we get ready for the Snetterton 200 and 15 more minutes of racing. What can the ladies produce? What can they do differently than what they did in the first race? And Mike, I think you mentioned something that I want to challenge you on. You were a little disappointed or maybe unimpressed by Olivia Krasnowska and Sophia Huflar's pace this race, and I was watching the times as well, but I'm going to challenge you on this argument. I think Sarah Dove, Christina Ryan, Katharina Geisler, Jessica Wesser, all the ladies are stepping up their game as they elevate what they're capable of doing. They put in a lot of practice. They treat this as a real run of skill, and their faith in this program, well, it's immense.
No, actually, I think that's a really good point, Sagar. I mean, drivers like Christina Ryan, and again, not to take anything away from Christina, she's just, you're right, the amount of pace that she's gained since we saw her join the Screen to Speed Championship is immense, and drivers like Olivia as well, just maybe not quite putting in the practice, you're right, that these other drivers have. And I'd be curious, again, I do, though, you did touch on it, the drivers, they do need to push a little bit harder. And I think in race 2, as we've seen in previous Screen to Speed races, race 2 tends to be a little bit more argy-bargy. I expect it to be this way as well tonight. So let's see. The drivers, they've kind of got one under their belts. They've got some points in their grasp, and of course the points only being for this race. This is not a championship, this current screen-to-speed calendar. However, wink wink, the next screen-to-speed calendar, and there might be a championship involved. We might talk about that a little bit later, don't go anywhere. But for right now, this is of course just a 2-race event for right now, and the points will be determined by the end of these 2 races. And currently Sarah Dove taking home the most points after race 1, and displaying just an immense amount of car control. And I think drivers like Sarah, drivers like Christina, for example, that's really what they need to do to bring this one home with a successful result, is just keep all 4 tires planted on the tarmac and not have any big moments like Jess Visser had kind of midway through the race in the previous session.
It's not only that, it's about pushing yourself, but not too much. You have to look at this as if you were competing in an endurance event. You want to dial it back that 10% or so to not have a mistake, to not get into an argy-bargy accident, to not get your elbows out with another driver. But as you said, as the drivers get more and more comfortable with the racetrack, the car combo, we have typically seen race 2 become a little bit more aggressive. But I'm absolutely here for it, Mike. I love it when we see the elbows come off, or the gloves come off, the elbows are out, the drivers go side by side for 2-3 laps in a row. I love to see the drivers execute this way. And in this championship or these races, it's phenomenal.
Absolutely. What you just described, Sauger, is motor racing, and that is what each and every single one of us are here to watch tonight. So let's watch a little motor racing. The grid is gridded, the drivers are driving, but the racing is yet to begin. The green flag still awaiting to be flown right now, with the M2 safety car leading the pack. As we head into the final sector, the pace car will pull down the pit lane and head the lead over to the de facto leader, which is going to be, of course, Sarah Dove, the previous winner. And then the reins will be let loose and the gloves will come off and everything will go the way that it falls. Now, though, as you mentioned, we'll see how everybody can keep their heads screwed on their shoulders. Is Christina Ryan going to go for an aggressive move early? You can already see she's posturing herself in the manner as such. So I do expect a little aggression early. Now, is that going to be the nail in the coffin, though? Does she want to wait for a good opportunity later? Well, I think we're going to find out very shortly. Telling a racing driver to be calm can be somewhat of a futile effort, Sauger.
Oh, Brian Troyer had a tough time with me at Watkins Glen telling me everything was all right, so I completely understand. As the pace car pulls in, we'll get ready to take the lights.
Going to be Sarah Dove taking the lead now. The M2 safety car is in as we get ready to begin Event 5, Race 2. The Mazda MX-5s here at Snetterton Circuit. The green flag is ready. And we are racing, and immediately we're going to go 4 abreast down to the first corner. What could possibly go wrong? Sarah Dove side by side with Christina Ryan up at the front as well. It's Sophie Hupflar with a nose ahead right now, but contact is the apex as Katharina Geisler, I think, gets taken out along with Jess Visser. The German duo is no longer taken out early at the start. It looks like Christina Ryan is going to take the lead of this race. No, that's Sarah Dove up at the front, Christina Ryan second. But my goodness, Sauger, drama strikes early.
And right there, going in towards turn 1, it looked all okay for the 4 abreast until it went wrong under braking. I think one driver just got a little squirrely there under the brakes, but not under the braking here as we go door to door between Christina Ryan and Sophie Hupflar. And a little deep there for Christina Ryan, but can she keep up the momentum to defend back Sophie Hupflar?
A brilliant move from Sophie, I have to say. She sold the dummy hook, line, and sinker. It's just that really Christina Ryan managed to keep her foot in it and keep the position by almost some stretch of a miracle. Jess Visser, by the way, meatball flag back into the pit lane. There is a fast repair, so she'll be back out on track fairly fast, but that is going to be 7th position almost certainly for the German driver. Now back to the action at the front, though. All 6 in line and stern right now. Let's take a look at that replay, by the way. This is what happens when 4 tries to go into 1. In reality, Sophie closing the apex up, I wouldn't call that her fault whatsoever. That's sort of just the nature of 4 going into 1. Olivia was down on the inside. I'm not sure there was anything she could have done there. At the end of the day, Sauger, I think that's a racing incident. Of course, the stewards will be taking a look at that after this race, but it's an unfortunate first corner incident.
And I'm just glad I'm not a race steward to have to be able to decipher that cryptic code. Sophia Hufflar has the speed and the momentum on Christina Ryan here and now. The 714 trying to go for the lead of the race, even with a little look at the stamp and ascend. She'll have it signed, sealed, and delivered until Ryan gives her a little touch there. And now Ryan's into the lead of the race. Krasnowska into P2. And where's Sarah Dove gone? Down to P4 in avoidance of all that carnage.
My goodness, Sarah Dove taken out, or maybe now Olivia Krasnowska with a lead of the race as she goes for the inside of the final corner. How is that even managing to be a thing? That's one of the worst corners to make an overtake, but Olivia Krasnowska does not care. The Phoenix Sim Racing driver takes the lead of this race with authority. Christina Ryan looking in her rearview mirror now as Annalise Riot has joined the conversation. Previous 7th place finisher. Never count Annalise out. She's going to be trying to go around the outside of the first corner. Wait long enough, it'll turn to the inside, but no, not on this occasion. It is going to be Krasnowska, Ryan, Riot, Dove. That's your top 4. Sophie Hufflar down the order. Katharina Geisler in 6th and Jess Wesser down in 7th. I still would love to take a look at that replay from a different angle of exactly what happened to Sarah Dove, because that was a very... I'm not sure. I couldn't tell if Christina Ryan went deep. Either way, here we go. This is a move on for Sarah Dove as the vengeance is in her eyes as she goes for an outside overtake around Annalise Riot. And it is actually going to be the inside. It's hook, line, and sinker. That's going to be an easy move. I don't think Annalise wanted to fight that too much.
I think Annalise Riot is probably happy picking up the pieces that were gifted to her along the way so far and doesn't want to punch a gift horse in the mouth, that's for sure. Here's the replay of what happened to Sophie Hufflar and Sarah Dove coming down. The Wales driver comes down into the entrance of Coram, and then it'll be a lick of the stamp and ascend there. Christina Ryan accidentally touches Sophie, and then Dove, just in avoidance, backs out of the whole thing. And then a couple cars went by there.
I'll be honest, I gotta call it as it is. I think that was on Christina Ryan. Obviously, the stewards will be taking a look with more camera angles, but that was call it as it is, an absolutely brilliant move from Sophie Hufflar. The fact that she managed to get the 2-for-1 for the lead of the race was incredible. Christina Ryan back into the lead of the race, though, as she gets the move done onto Olivia Krasnowska. This is what we're looking for, folks. Sophie Hufflar also passing Annalise Riot, as Annalise not wanting to fight that too much as well. Again, as you said, picking up the pieces here that were given to her, and Sophie weaving to break the slipstream. Or weaving because she's on camera. Not fully sure. Either way, Krasnowska back onto Ryan. This is a battle of the ages. 2 titans clashing, Sagar, as who is going to be the one to take the W? Is it going to be either of these two even?
That's what I was just about to say, Mike. You took the words out of my mouth. It's still not over. Sarah Dove avoided the accident and thought about self-preservation there rather than aggression, rather than just going for a move and perhaps getting involved in an incident, damaging her car, her tires, anything of the like. Just held her brakes, waited for the accident to clear, and pursued on. Christina Ryan, on the other hand, took off like a rocket ship. And now, Sarah Dove has to do all that work over again, but I think we have enough time left on the clock for Dove to do something with this remaining, because she's getting moves done on Krasnowska on the here and now.
And with authority as well around the outside of Olivia Krasnowska, not taking no for an answer is Sarah Dove, but same can be said for Krasnowska. She made a little look there back onto Dove, but I'm not sure this is the time nor the place to be doing it. You don't want to lose too much time to Christina Ryan up at front. Keeping the slipstream. We talked about it earlier, how important it can be on this circuit. This is a long straight. These cars aren't that fast, and every single mile an hour matters. Christina Ryan would like a little bit of a gap, so seeing this battling between Krasnowska and Dove is going to be absolutely music to her ears, and she's going to try to run away with it, but I think both Krasnowska and Dove realize that they need to focus on the prize ahead rather than each other.
Let's see if that actually ends up being the case. Krasnowska should give a little push to Sarah Dove coming down the back stretch if that were to be the case, rather than to challenge for position. A little bit of bump draft would go a long way in these Mazda MX-5 Cup cars to help out the driver in front. You can also just help out by drafting the other person. As we know from our NASCAR truck series, just getting to be that third car and breaking that arrow that's pushing the car down and pushing them forward, as it were. Physics is a crazy thing, folks. Stay in school. It just allows you to go that much faster. It breaks the barrier of what the car is able to do by itself when you're working with a partner. So Krasnowska has a decision to make now. Does she want to work with Sarah Dove, or does she want to challenge Dove and let Christina Ryan escape into the distance?
As I mentioned, I think it's not really a working together aspect as much as it is a not working against each other here, because Sarah Dove has the pace. That's looking at her lap times. Previous lap, a 122.7 compared to the 123.1 of Christina Ryan. So Krasnowska behind, she's in the 124s right now, not really able in terms of pace to keep up fully. So we'll see. Sarah Dove, currently one position down from where she started. She is going to want that position back, and fairly quickly. But Christina Ryan, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think she's had a victory just yet in terms of screen to speed. So this would be, I think, her first win.
Christina Ryan's first win?
Is it? Or my mistake? I think she has she had one? Or she
One win
had
at
second place?
Tsukuba, if I'm not mistaken. Where Right, that second race at Tsukuba was an absolute heater. If you haven't watched the VOD back, make sure you go check it out here on YouTube. It is absolutely phenomenal. Christina Ryan getting her maiden win, I believe in the interview said that that was one of her favorite or most memorable, I don't want to misquote it, most memorable or favorite race she's ever done on iRacing.
And of course, she also got driver of the day in that race as well. So that was very, very awesome to see. So we get to see it here. By the way, folks, with the clock ticking down as it stands, probably about 5 minutes left to go, it's going to be the move now from Sophie Huflar onto Olivia Krasnowska, down to the inside, and Krasnowska didn't really look like she was too thrilled in defending that position, to be completely honest. That's going to be a free one. Sophie up into third, Krasnowska back down into fourth position. And the two drivers, by the way, to mention that have not been mentioned just yet, Katharina Geisler and Jess Visser, both of them still out of the running right now in terms of the time, but both of them still out on track, and that's what you love to see. Again, these races are not necessarily about winning overall or taking the victory. It's about having fun, taking the checkered flag, and showing what you can do. And Jess Visser, somebody who shows up to every single race that they're able to, along with Katharina Geisler. Unless they're out real life racing, they're probably going to be out on track. So you love to see it. Big shout out to those two, the German dynamic duo. But let's take a look at this battle now. This is going to be Sarah Dove and Sophie Huflar trying to battle it out for second. And Christina Ryan maybe under pressure for first, but that's a brilliant little send from Sophie as she finds herself up into second.
And Sophie might be going back from the pack into P1 all over again. She executed a great move going into Quorum as looking on board now. A little bit of a block from Sophie as she tries to defend Sarah Dove's run there in front. Way off to the inside line coming down in towards Quorum. This is exactly what we pay to see, folks. The 714 putting on a great show for us through Quorum. The defense was on like Donkey Kong.
And the brilliant part about this, as you mentioned, we don't even have to pay to watch this. This is just incredible racing live on Twitch as well as YouTube, and of course Esports Edge and eClutch. Massive shout out to everybody. This is what we want to see. Drivers pushing the limits of the track as well. Christina Ryan taking a little too deep onto the outside, and that's going to be maybe an opportunity for Sophie Huflar as we come down to the first corner once again. We have about 4 minutes left now. Down to the inside, this is going to be the lead battle as Sophie is going to try to send it around the long way, but is going to get blocked at the apex. Christina Ryan holding on, but Sophie keeping her foot in it. It's still the inside line for Christina, but who is that in the background? That's Sarah Dove trying to make her nose known in this as well. No position changes just yet. Olivia Krasnowska getting involved with this. This Sagar is a knife's edge dance that we're watching right now, and anything can happen at any moment.
Mike, I was waiting for your iconic saying, this is a knife fight in a phone booth, because this is absolutely turning into it. 4 drivers blanketed by under 2 seconds at this point in time, with just a few moments left to go in this race. Anybody's ball game at this point. Who's going to come out on top? Mike, your guess is as guess as mine. And I know these ladies pretty well at this point. We've been together for almost an entire year together. And these ladies, well, they're here to represent the best that they can produce. And there goes a little wide Christina Ryan. Does that hurt her charge coming down and towards turn 1? Not too poorly on this run. And don't forget about Annalisa Ryan, further back than she'd like to be right now, but still in a battle with Katharina Geisler.
And my goodness, Sarah really trying to get the position onto Sophie as well. At any chance that she can, she's making her nose in the rear wing mirror there of Sophie Hufflar. But Christina Ryan, she's got to tidy that final corner up. Every single corner has looked pixel perfect pretty much, except the final. Here is Katharina Geisler making a move on to Annalise Wright, who's done such an incredible job so far of just, again, consistency, lap after lap after lap, not making any mistakes. Annalise, this is probably one of her best races I've seen from her. Again, hats off for the effort. This, though, is an effort and a half for Sophie Hufflar, and I think she's finally claimed the inside line, at least temporarily. Is it enough? It's a little deep for Christina. She has to slow at the apex, and there's contact as Sophie Hufflar gives her the bumper. That's going to allow Sarah Dove through, and Olivia Krasnowska now seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. Can she find a position as we get ready, Sagar, to approach the white flag lap?
That was almost a repeat of what we saw earlier. Coming through Bundle, Nelson, Baumel, the drivers, the trio, all nose to tail. Only this time the order was completely inverted. Sophie Hufflar was the one going for a move for P1 this time around on Sarah Dove and Christina Ryan, not the other way around. But a little bit of contact was made, but here and now Sarah Dove is trying to make a clean move on Christina Ryan going into the last lap of this race, Mike.
As Sarah Dove, somebody who is not unfamiliar with the winner's circle, Christina Ryan made her first victory at Tsukuba. Is this going to be the one? It's going to be Sophie Hufflar from the back, takes Sarah Dove out. That allows Katharina Geisler into third. What has happened? I don't think anybody had that on their bingo card, but Christina Ryan guaranteed is going to be celebrating immensely at this point. She needs to keep it together, though. 1.7 seconds is not out of the woods just yet, and she still has a half a lap to go. Let's take a look at this. This is Sophie from the background. She gets alongside, and it does almost look like, I have to say, Sarah closes the corner up maybe a little more than she should have. I mean, Sophie did need the room. She was fully alongside. We'll see. Either way, the stewards will be taking a look at that, and we will have the results after. But regardless, for Christina Ryan, she was not involved whatsoever, nor did she want to be. And she is going to be very grateful for the fact as well, as this is going to be the victory, the checkered flag awaiting her for Event 5 of Screen to Speed. And she takes it with authority. Christina Ryan, take a bow.
Another win for Ryan under her belt. Krasnowska crosses the line in P2 after a quiet but deadly race. Geisler in third with a great recovery from the back of the pack. Sarah Dove in fourth.
And what a brilliant showing when all is said and done. My goodness. Almost out of breath at the very end. Dramas like you couldn't imagine. Also, by the way, folks, if you are watching on the Esports Edge side of things, again, we'll be taking a quick short break. Again, for everybody else watching at home, we will still be here. But Sagar, a lot to break down in this one. In fact, where do I really start, to be honest? I mean, I guess we can start with the start of this race. That sounds pretty logical. It started off, all things considered, pretty trivial. I mean, minus the fact, of course, that we had Sarah Dove early on. Well, I guess Christina Ryan, I guess, would be more the talk of the town, as she is the one that just didn't give up in this race. Involved in a contact, maybe controversially so. We'll see who is going to be the responsible party, but 2 drivers taken out as a result, but the rest is history.
Yeah, and I think just gut feeling, Katharina Geisler coming from the back of the pack after being involved in that lap 1 incident, Olivia Krasnowska being on the inside line, getting involved with the Germanic duo there, and then running them both off the track, unfortunately, in that incident, and then coming back to a podium. This was a drama-filled race. The stewards have their work cut out for them, but I think at the end of the day, the drivers were able to produce their best possible showcase of skill. Yes, accidents were made, some more than others, but that's because the drivers are pushing the limit of their ability and their skill at this point in time, and that's what we love to see. Drivers trying to extend themselves, get better, get faster, as we've seen drivers in the Screen to Speed series continue to just get better and more confidence as they drive with each other. They get to know each other and challenge each other a little bit more. And this is the result of all that, the culmination of about a year's worth of running so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, seeing as well, drivers like, for example, Jess Visser, who took victory in the Formula Vs in the previous race. You know, I had mentioned it in the V session that Jess is more of a formula expert at the end of the day. She's not necessarily a road car expert. She's still very, very, very great in a road car. I'm not taking anything away from that. But I think we saw that tonight, unfortunately, and maybe through no fault of her own as well. I think it's safe to say in race 2, she wasn't the responsible party, but she certainly was the one that got the most, well, her meatball flag. She got basically taken out of the race. But again, the fact that she managed to take the checkered flag at the end is a victory in itself. So you do love to see all of that. Now, again, seeing these drivers time and time again, they get to see each other time and time again, Sagar. And so as we get ready to kind of boil this one out for the next one, we get to see how they play it out. But here we go, folks. This is going to be the official, unofficial results here for race 2 of event 5 for Screen to Speed. Christina Ryan takes the victory by 2.8 seconds. Now this, if you were just to look at these results, this is not the whole story whatsoever. Olivia Krasnowska, second place once again up into the podium. The 899 Scottish driver doing a wonderful, wonderful drive. Katharina Geisler finishing in third despite the dramas early on. Call it luck, call it skill, call it what you would like. The results, they are the same. Third position is brilliant. Sarah Dove, fourth, with Annalise Riot behind in fifth. Sophie Hoflar, sixth position, 2 sixth positions in a row. Very uncharacteristic from the Welsh driver. And then Jess Visser coming home in last, 1 lap down after being taken out early on in race 2. Again, Sagar, you look at these results, it is certainly not the entire story of this race, as it is a lot to break down.
Even if you were to put the starting grid alongside the feature results, it would not tell the whole story, because the drivers pretty much ended close to where they started this one, barring a few. But it's been an amazing event up until this point. The drivers put on a great show. And of course, next time we have a broadcast, we'll have the race highlights when we broadcast Screen to Speed next.
Absolutely, and maybe even some highlights throughout the rest of the year. That would be great to see, as we're coming to a crest in our 6-month calendar. We get ready to head to Oulton Park in the GR86s for Team America, but in Screen to Speed, we head to Oran Park, as of course that is not confusing whatsoever to have those two next to each other. But we get to tackle the Ray FF 1600s, which, let's talk about that for just a second here. They're a much faster car than the GR86s or the MX-5s. They have a little bit of downforce, they have more gearing, and all in all, in terms of their racecraft, they're going to be a little more fragile. So the drivers maybe have to be a little more careful in terms of their wheel-to-wheel racing. But drivers like Jess Visser, I think that's where we're going to see them shine.
Definitely. The drivers are going to have a new challenge in front of them with open-wheel cars, driving the Formula Vs in the second half of the season. But it's nothing that they're uncomfortable with. We've driven open-wheelers before, and as you said, we're going to be driving the FFs coming up here shortly as well. So to get a little taste of what's coming up in the next season.
And on top of that, well, this one, of course, the final race still being a part of this season, but we will be happy to announce that we are announcing the next season's calendar as well. And this is going to be a little more special, folks, so do tune in. This is your 2026 season, well, I guess calendar, what's it called, halfway through the year, quarter two, no, half to. Either way, this is the Screen to Speed race calendar for the second half of the year. Oulton Park is going to be the first circuit in the GR86s on August 23rd. And these first 4 races, by the way, are going to be a championship. So the GR86s themselves are going to be a 4-round championship. The Formula Vs are going to be a 4-round championship, but there will be an overall winner as well. So at the end of the 8 rounds, we'll be taking all of the points total and claiming a winner for that. So if you are interested, again, head on over to the website, inesports.gg/carsim or screentospeed.com. You can find all of the information for our next season's calendar coming up. And again, a much different race format than what these drivers are used to. We have points on the line now, so a lot to be said. We'll see how the ladies can cope with it as we get ready to. But of course, again, as I mentioned, the next round is still in this 6-month stint. So we will be seeing the previous format for the Oran Park race in the Ray FF 1600s on July 19th. So do not go anywhere, folks. We still have racing next month. And we also, of course, have a lot more. We got NASCAR. We have all sorts of different fun events, Sagar, that we're going to be having. And I happen to have in my ear here, we have some interviews ready, Sagar. So I'm happy to say that we can catch up with Christina Ryan, is who we're going to be going with. No, we're going to be going with Catherine Geisler first. So I've had time here to chat with Katrina. And let's talk a little bit about what exactly happened here tonight. Race 1, I think, was pretty trivial. We can say everything probably didn't quite go to as planned, but it didn't go against plan. So why don't we start with race 1?
Yeah, the incident with Jessie was unfortunate. Yeah, she tried to come back and she didn't saw me, so I not bumped her off, but she had to go off to not kick me out, and yeah, crazy. Yeah.
Definitely going to be an interesting... How does that happen? I have to ask, when you have collisions like that on track, of course, with your counterpart, how does the dinner go later on at night when you guys have to sit at the table together?
Well, I think we're pretty pragmatic about it, so we analyze it, but no bad blood there, so...
That's
it was
cool
unlucky.
Yeah, of course. And also, of course, seeing Jess, both you and Jess out time and time again here in the Screen to Speed races. Come rain, snow, or shine, I mean, unless you're out on track in real life, both of you two are out on the circuit here virtually. And I just want to thank you guys for that. And also, you know, as we get ready to come to the end here of this Screen to Speed calendar, or the next one, in the Ray FF 1600s over at Oran Park, how are you looking forward to that, Katrina?
Well, the car is very difficult to drive, but I think it will be fun. So I hope that a lot of girls just join the track. So let's make this a good one.
Yes, indeed. And that, of course, Katrina Geisler. Race 2, we'll just briefly touch on it. The dramas that happened at the very, very end that led you to the conversation that we're having here. The podium finish. Talk us through what happened from your perspective, because I don't think we necessarily saw it the way you did.
Well, the start, I think it was from my perspective really good, but I think Sophie and Olivia just came through and I had nowhere to go, and I thought maybe Olivia will back down, but no, she just spun me and just crashed into Jess. That was really unhappy. And about the drama in the, I don't know, last couple of corners, I don't know what happened. I just made my way through and thought, okay, I survived somehow.
There we go. That's going to be, of course, what led you here tonight to the conversation that we're having in P3. Katrina Geisler, it's always lovely to see you on the podium and lovely to see you out on the races. Is there anyone that you would like to thank for your P3 here tonight?
First of all, thanks to Screen to Speed and Init for setting this up. It's always fun to drive here, and a little bit unfortunate for Jessie, but she will lead the pace in the next race, I'm pretty sure. That's her thing. So thanks, and have a good night.
Yes, indeed. You as well, Katrina. Thank you so much for joining as always, and enjoy the taste of champagne there at the very end. Again, very exciting. As she's mentioned, she's basically had to drive through the chaos and got lucky at the end of the day, Sagar. Sometimes that's motor racing, and that's just how the cookie crumbles, and I don't think she could have been happier.
Absolutely. That's just the way of the road. Sometimes she goes and sometimes she don't. At the end of the day, the results are what they are, with Geisler coming home in P3, but I think we've got Sarah Dove ready in P2. In just a few moments, we'll be talking to Sarah Dove, and I am just beaming with anticipation because Sarah Dove had not only a good race 1, but a really commanding presence for race 2 as well. Let's talk to Sarah Dove as soon as we can.
Hello.
Hello, Sarah. Great to have you on board with us. As regularly, you continue to produce great racing and great calls for us here in the broadcast booth. How does it feel to come home in P2 after a, well, pretty dramatic race?
That's good. Yeah. Race 2, definitely dramatic. It was, yeah, like, after the start, just seeing in the mirrors 4 wide behind me, I was like, oh, everyone's going for it. It was good. Very drama, yeah. No, it's good. It's good fun. Good fun racing.
And especially your climb through the grid.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's okay. No, it was it was good fun catching back up as well.
And a tremendous amount of pace. I have to ask, Sarah, what is it that you need to get tremendous amounts of pace the way that you've produced at screen to speed events? You're continually running at the front. Is it practice? Is it a little bit of that magic juice that they have in Space Jam that you drink, the magic water that Bugs Bunny gets? What is it?
I think a little bit of that, but practice really does play a really big part, because I've been sim racing since 2017, like regularly, and I think just through the laps and laps and laps and laps and laps and laps that I've done, I've kind of got a feel for it. Like I can work it out in kind of any situation usually, and it definitely helps with like new track and car combos that I'm doing. Being sort of having the experience and the practice of learning the fundamentals of how to drive a car, you can then use that to extract speed.
100%. One of the things you highlighted that's very impressive to talk about is the fact that you have experience. There aren't going to be a lot of new tracks that you've seen, but the car track combo might be a little different than something you have had experience in before, which leads to quicker progression of the car combo that we're coming across. So that makes a lot of sense. Now, Sarah Dove, is there anybody you'd like to shout out or anybody that you'd like to thank tonight on your P2?
Thanks you all for hosting this. It's been great.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for joining us in the Esports broadcast booth. Have a great night. And as always, make sure you stay safe out there.
You too.
Now, very shortly, Sagar, we're going to be hearing from the race winner here tonight, Christina Ryan, which is an interview. I don't even know where I'm going to begin on this. I think race 1, again, is a good start for it. But the dramas here tonight were immense. And talking to Sarah Dove about that, and as you mentioned, her climb through the field, very, very impressive to see. A great result as, again, Sarah Dove, as she mentioned, being a driver since 2017 in terms of sim racing. And she's been with the Screen to Speed community, I think, since Screen to Speed formed, even before I was involved with it, well before, I think, even Vegas. So I think being a real-life competitor as well for Screen to Speed, you absolutely love to see Sarah joining us time and time and time again. But now we get to hear from one of the newer members of the Screen to Speed Championship. It is going to be Christina Ryan, and this is an exciting interview here for me tonight. Christina, let's start off here with race 1. First off, how are you doing right now? As I would imagine after race 2, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little confused. I really thought I was cooked at the end there, but the cars behind made contact and kind of gifted me a win there. I definitely did not have the pace, but we'll take them how we get them for sure. So I'm very excited, but yeah.
that actually segues me into my next question as well. You mentioned pace, and I'm very curious as to what kind of happened. Let's talk about your qualifying. P4, not necessarily the best result, not necessarily the worst result, but the qualifying pace just wasn't quite there. What was that in terms of, was it practice or just the car track combo?
Yeah, well, I've never driven this track. I think I maybe drove it one time in like the front wheel drive Clio, so like not at all a representation of what we were doing today. And I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to make this race or not, so I didn't put a lot of time into practicing for it because, you know, I wasn't really expecting to be here. So I was kind of learning the track on the fly, and it's a very awkward track. It has a lot of really strange corners and a lot of deceptive corners, and one leads into the next, and it's a whole, it's a very I guess goofy track is the way to describe it. And so I just didn't quite have the pace. I was happy to actually break into the same second bracket as the other drivers were, because I was outside of that for the longest, and I set a good lap in practice, and I was actually watching what everybody was doing during practice, and I was realizing I was overdriving a lot. So I got that under control, and then found some pace to at least keep in the draft, and I knew if I could stay in slipstream, I'd have a decent chance to try and be there if things got silly. So
Yeah, which, I mean, race 1, you made up over 3 positions in terms of your positions gain, and then race 2, you kept the trend in the same positive direction with, well, a P1. You can't get much better than that. So despite the fact that you didn't quite have the pace, Christina, your racecraft tonight absolutely was immense. And why don't we talk a little bit about the contacts that we've had, though, in the early corners, I think, of race 2. What was that from your perspective?
yeah, well, the only one I feel like I wasn't a part of was lap 1, turn 1, when they were 4 wide behind me, and I was really glad I wasn't a part of that, because I didn't think that was going to quite work out with the nature of turn 1, and I was correct. So I knew from there that I was, you know, we pretty much had a podium if I didn't make any big mistakes. And I feel horrible because me and Sophie have raced together for a really long time, but like I don't know what it is. We have like a fundamental misunderstanding of each other's like where we're gonna be, because I feel like every time we race we make contact, and it sucks a lot because you know, we've raced together for a while now through Screen to Speed, and I respect her a lot. It's just I think we're both extremely aggressive, especially on these short sprint kind of races, and it causes these situations where we tend to always be going for the same gap, and we're both going so hard that none of us can really bail in time, and unfortunately one of us always kind of gets the short end of the stick on that. And today it was her, but I look back at the incidents. I'm not really sure if anybody in our deals were like totally at fault for either of them. I think it's just a lot of us being aggressive, but of course I hate that happens, and I think she definitely was the one to be on pace, but I don't know. It's unfortunate. The deal we had 3 cars under a blanket, and I wasn't even really trying to make a move, and I just kind of appeared in between them because everybody had slowed down. So. And then, of course, everything else. I mean, there's going to be some mirror banging and some bumpers hit. I think that's just the nature of, you know, this racetrack really promotes that. Absolutely. But this track especially really enjoys some argy-bargy. So.
Absolutely. And very exciting, though, to see the battles that you still put on. I have to say, especially with you and Sarah in the end, it was a very, very exciting race to see. And I think at the end of the day, pats on the back for absolutely everybody. Again, it was, from the commentary booth's perspective, very exciting to watch race 2. Race 1 as well, of course, but very, very enjoyable all the way around. Now, before we do wrap this one up, though, is there anybody that you would like to thank for your victory here tonight, Christina?
Yeah, of course. I mean, shout out to everybody that supports me. I mean, the win at Scuba felt massive because it was just such a fun battle all the way through. But I think this is our first time we've won overall, so I'm really happy about that. I love the Miata, and it's so much fun. And obviously, thanks to you guys for putting this on and putting it all together. Everybody behind the scenes at In It and Screen to Speed. It's great that this organization is still doing good stuff. And again, I can't name everybody, unfortunately. I'll say hi to my mom if she's watching, but besides that, I mean, you know who you are. Thank you so much for supporting me on my journey through all this, and glad we got some more hardware to bring home. So.
Yes, indeed, and enjoy the champagne for the rest of your evening as well. Now, though, Sauger, we can wrap this up a little bit. Before we do, we got to talk a little bit about what is to come with Screen to Speed. As I had mentioned just previously, we of course have the new season right around the corner, but our next event is next month, folks, and it's going to be July 19th at Oran Park in the FF1600s. After that, of course, we do have the next Screen to Speed season, the 2 championship season that will be running all the way into the latter part of November. And then also, of course, Team America will be returning as well. But Sauger, this next calendar coming up for Screen to Speed, it's going to be an absolute thriller, I have to say.
It is going to be an absolute great time. The drivers have already said how much they love the vehicles. Well, they get to drive them again and again because of the great action. As we've seen tonight, they continue to produce. And just to go to say, the drivers have just gone to show us how much they have improved, and we might be ready to move on to the next stage of Screen to Speed and throw them another curveball next season.
Yeah, it certainly is going to be exciting. And of course, with Screen to Speed, all free content all the time. That's one thing to mention as well, of course, is if you are in the iRacing platform, you have the content that is required. And if you don't, again, you can reach out in the Discord and we can maybe make something happen. Join the Discord as well, folks, as of course, in Esports, we are not just a racing platform, we are a community as well. Of course, you can head down to the description to find a link for that. Now, though, we also, of course, have the QR codes that you can scan as well on your screen here. This is the sign up for the next race, Oran Park in the GP. And again, that Ray FF1600, there's that brilliant Screen to Speed livery that you can see on your screen, courtesy of Tom Bryant, aka Esports UK as well, getting these lovely screenshots and providing all of the pictures that you see today. Also, of course, a massive thank you to our partners and everybody that does make these events possible, starting with, but not limited to, we'll just go through real quick, Regadget, eClutch, Roku, Esports Edge, Innit Esports, aka Esports UK, and of course, iRacing, for allowing us on this massive platform. I have to say, Sauger, speaking of iRacing, you briefly touched on it, the iRacing arcade that we're now getting into as well. I know that's something that's near and dear to your heart.
It is so close to my heart. We had a great event this last Saturday, getting the group of admins together and opening it up to the community to just have some fun one-off races. And coming up in 2 weeks' time, we're definitely going to be looking forward to hosting another one.
Yes, indeed. And if you're interested, again, head onto the Discord and get involved. It is going to be an exciting one. Now, also, of course, I just briefly mentioned, and I'll just briefly mention it once more, Team America. We have the next event coming up as well, and that is just around the corner. We're going to head over on to July 5th, the GR86s at Olton Park. Another all-free content duo. If you are interested, and of course, this is for all U.S. American citizens, and it is, of course, our Team America prospect. If you're interested, what is Team America? Well, it is the official team of the American roster. Yes, you guessed it, for the World rephrase that. It is going to be for all of the eSports Cups hosted by the world. So, of course, for Team Canada, Team America, and all sorts of different nation-based events, whether it's in person, whether it is on the run, you can find yourself involved here for Team America. But, Sauger, I think it's time to wrap up here for tonight. We've had an extremely exciting event here for Screen to Speed. As always, we're looking forward to the next one. Is there anything else that you'd like to add here tonight before we wrap this up?
I just want to extend my gratitude to the drivers, to the viewers, to everybody that supports Screen to Speed. Whether you're watching live now or in the future, thank you very much for supporting what Innit does and what we're trying to build here. This amazing community of individuals that just wants to enjoy motorsports as much as they can. So thank you very much for showing up, showing out, and producing a great show for us this evening.
Absolutely. A massive thank you to all the viewers for viewing us, and a massive thank you to all of the drivers for driving with us. As always, as of course, you are the ones that make this show possible and are the reason that we are here. But from everybody here at Innit Esports, as well as AK Esports UK, we would like to thank you for joining us and watching this broadcast. We're going to be closing this up, and join us next for for Miami in the trucks coming up. But until next time, folks, I hope absolutely everybody has a lovely evening, afternoon, or morning, wherever you are in this fine world. Thank you, and good night.